Hello, everyone. Welcome to VGS Astro. Today it is about Sun transit in the sign of Virgo. And friends, mark your calendars. September 17th of 2025. The Sun, our king, the administrator, the giver of authority, is now entering the sign of Virgo, which is the sign of duty, accountability, and also precision. But this time, he's not walking in alone. Across the sky, we've got Saturn. Saturn is in the sign of Pisces going retrograde, and he's waiting and throwing a sharp opposition, a karmic glance onto the sun. This is a classic courtroom drama, if you will. Sun is the executive, the one who enforces, commands, and acts. Saturn is the judge, the one who questions, delays, and demands proof. When they stare at each other, so it's a mutual aspect that's happening here, there's always a tussle between execution and judgment, pride versus humility, authority versus accountability. So the big question, who wins? The sun shines, but Saturn carries time, law, and karma. Collectively, this is a period where governments, institutions, and leaders will be tested. Administrators will want to move fast, but Saturn will slow them down, asking, is this fair? Is this sustainable? And is this karmically right? So this is a month where we're all going to be forced to balance our authority with accountability, our willpower with patience, and our pride with humility. So let's begin. Let's look at each sign and what it holds for each of us on a more personal level, beginning with Aries ascendant or Aries moon sign. So for Aries, this is a very interesting month for you because the sun, the king, the fifth lord of intelligence is now moving into your sixth house, the battlefield of life. Now, what happens when the king, who normally enjoys the throne of creation and brilliance, suddenly has to wear the uniform of an administrator, an officer, or even a soldier? And he does not sit back in comfort. He rolls up his sleeves and says, let's get to work. Let's solve some problems. Let's defeat enemies. So for Aries natives, this transit puts the spotlight on conflicts, puts the spotlight on debts, your health, your daily responsibilities. Many of you may feel this is a time where life demands more discipline, more hard work, more accountability because Saturn is watching from across the sky, from the sign of Pisces. The sun in the sixth is strong. It gives you the ability to win over enemies, manage competition, and bring order where there was chaos. But the twist is that Saturn retrograde in Pisces is sitting in your 12th house of losses, isolation, and hidden karmas. From here, he's casting his full judicial glance straight onto your sun. The sun, your fifth lord, is presenting himself as the executive, ready to pass orders, solve disputes, and also to defeat your rivals. But Saturn, the judge, looks across from the 12th and says, wait, is this truly justice? Or are you just feeding your ego? Are you actually resolving the problem? Or are you just suppressing the enemy or scaring off your enemy to consolidate and build more allies? Because fifth lord going into the sixth means you are creating more enemies than allies. You could now make matters worse, but being the fifth lord in the sixth may also mean there is a general sense of well-being and prosperity in your health and in your daily life. So it's like it's got a dual side to it. And I will get to that in a minute. But the problem will start if you start getting along with the wrong people. And that will get questioned by Saturn in the 12th. Usually, Sun being opposed by Saturn creates a lot of tension, a lot of conflicting situations. Sun makes a move, but Saturn is right here questioning that motive of Sun. Sun feels accountable in this place. And Saturn in the 12th reminds Sun of its duty. Sun doesn't like being told what its job is. Obviously, that creates a lot of problems. The king does not like being under the microscope of the masses, and Saturn represents the masses. But Saturn is in your 12th house, which means Saturn wants to reform the sun. 12th house is rehab, it's reformation. And when Saturn casts his gaze onto the sun, it reminds the sun that he's not just a karaka of creation, but also a dharmakayaka, because sun is the karaka of the natural ninth. And his actions have to be aligned with the greater good. So Saturn is now bringing correction in sun's path. And Saturn is probably the only planet that can question the authority of the sun. Remember that. And the pain is very real for the sun. It is probably the only time when sun matures in its decisions. If he's straying away from the path of Dharma, Saturn will not directly correct the situation, but Saturn will make the sun to correct his path. And when it's all over, the animosity of the sun will dissipate, and he will be more happy that he did not commit a grave mistake. So there's a lot to thank Saturn for once the transit is over. But Sun also aspects Saturn, and that brings to light the subconscious fears associated with Saturn going into the 12th house. Sun wants to allay those fears. It wants to remove those fears. It wants to make you bold and decisive. Nonetheless, the transit is going to be full of learning. You might feel like every battle demands too much energy. You try to solve one issue at work, which is stuck because everyone is questioning your motive, sort of like what the President Trump is going through now. So once one issue is solved, another suddenly pops up. Authority clashes are possible. Your subordinates might resist your decision. At home, this energy can even manifest as arguments over responsibilities. Now, health is another big area. The Sun energizes the 6th, but Saturn in the 12th says you need to rest before you go to war. But Sun says you need to stop sleeping all the time and get your act together because we're at war. So if you're struggling with oversleeping, or if you're struggling with some kind of a recurring health issue, this is the month where they demand attention, and Sun says get up in the morning and take a walk. Early amble leads to early recovery. Resting all the time is definitely not going to solve problems, and that is what Sun is trying to tell Saturn. Saturn says you need to slow down, but Sun says war is not when you slow down. Obviously, the tussle is always going to be there, and there's going to be a duality of thoughts in your mind. And enemies may not always show themselves directly. Saturn in the 12th makes them very subtle. So there's going to be like gossip or backdoor politics, someone undermining you quietly, rather than they're openly doing it, you know. But the gift in all this, and it's huge, Sun in the 6th is one of the most victorious placements you can ever have. This is the king entering the battlefield with full command. If you've been waiting for a time to crush opposition, or even settle disputes, or win a legal case, then this is it. You've got the executive authority to act decisively. This energy is also a chance to transform your health and routines once and for all. Imagine this like a karmic reset button. Debts can be cleared, enemies can be dissolved, and your stamina can be rebuilt. But the key, Saturn won't let you win just for ego. He wants your victories to be sustainable. All Saturn is saying is that don't be hasty in your decisions. Take it slow. Don't be quick to anger. Just do what is necessary and think about long-term prospects. If you can't win in the long term, those short-term decisions are not going to work for you. And it's only going to bring a lot of embarrassment and humiliation, so you better avoid that. So basically, Saturn says, you don't just fight enemies, you outgrow them. You don't just pay debt, you learn never to fall into them again. So Saturn is also a person who teaches the hard way. You don't just fix illness, you shift your entire lifestyle. Also, fifth lord going into the sixth means that your past life merits are tested through service and problem solving. The good karma that you've accumulated in the past, the good karma that you've accumulated now finds expression by helping you win in conflicts. But Saturn's opposition from 12th says the real victory comes when you don't just fight for yourself, but also for other people. If you use your intelligence, fifth house is intelligence, if you use your intelligence to serve other people through your aspect, sun's aspects, you actually dissolve your 12th house karmic debts as well. So the mantra for you is to stay humble in the battlefield. So who wins? The sun or Saturn? For you, both win if you understand their roles. The sun gives you the courage to act. Saturn ensures your actions are just and also karmically aligned. And if you choose ego, the battles are going to definitely drain you. If you choose discipline and service, this month becomes a powerful turning point of healing and also karmic release. So if you liked what you heard, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. Also, if you need a consultation, drop an email and I'll see what I can do. Next up, we have Taurus ascendants or Taurus moon sign. So for Taurus, your story this month is about your heart, your creative endeavor, your children, your romance, all being put under the scanner because the sun, your fourth lord of home, security, emotional grounding, and mother, is now moving into your fifth house of creative endeavors, romance, children, and intelligence. Normally, the sun in the fifth feels like a king in his own court. He shines with brilliance, demands recognition. He wants to create and express without limitations. Sun in the fifth is like walking into a big hall and owning that hall. But here, Saturn is casting his gaze from across the sky onto the sun in the fifth, bringing about limitations. And sun hates limitations. For you, this is a month where your talents, your love life, or your role as a parent is gonna take center stage. Because this is a time where Sun is going to struggle to showcase his talents or even have a tough time in parenting. Sun is the father and Saturn is his child. And when they both look at each other, it always means a troubled relationship with the father and the son. In creative work, you may feel blocked, but that does not mean that the ideas won't be there. The ideas will come, but society, audience, or colleagues may not validate them immediately. So that can be very frustrating because the sun wants instant recognition, but Saturn in the 11th delays and insists you refine your creative skills or entrepreneurial skills. Fifth is prosperity, and Saturn is kind of slowing that down. So Sun in turn wants to show his authority over your network, over your colleagues, your social circle, your audience, and he wants to lead, to guide, to create, and do things with ease. But Saturn in 11th means your audience, your colleagues are no longer children, right? They're definitely not your children to be taken for granted. I mean, the reason I'm saying this is because Sun is a powerful karaka of the 9th. And in the 5th, it can have a sense of, duty to teach people or to mentor them. But Saturn says, I don't need mentors. I don't need your guidance. I am here to fix you. I'm here to see if what you do is for your own selfish needs or is there going to be a collective good. Are you creating something just to satisfy your ego? Or is there a collective good in your mind because Saturn represents the masses? Is love and affection just a form of your self-expression? Or is it something that you do to establish a greater sense of bond with your partner or your friends or colleagues? That kind of stuff. So if you want to come out of Saturn's limiting gaze in terms of, building a strong relationship or even see greater prosperity in the fifth house, the only way you can do that now is when you show unconditional love for other people, especially if you're at the helm of affairs. or if you have some form of authority and you use it in a manner that will help your immediate and extended circle of friends. If you do things out of ego, Saturn is going to slow you down. It's a chance for you to give back to your community, and in turn, Saturn will reward you not only, with name and fame, but also partially release his clutches on the 11th house, bringing you that promotion or that extra income that you wanted, especially if you're working in a commission based job or if you're working for incentives, then this is a great time for you to win over your colleagues or win over your subordinates. And Saturn will definitely release those clutches. But yeah, some friends will come to you, or should I say, they will gravitate towards you without doing much just because they feel like you're the right person to be their mentor. So obviously, this could give rise to a mentor protege kind of relationship. But there's going to be a lot of tests that will make you question your own decisions, that will make you question your own identity or ideology that's close to your heart. But yeah, there's going to be ease in making friendship when Saturn releases his clutches or even earn that extra income in the short term. But in the long term, Saturn is going to put your relationship, whether romantic or otherwise, to the test and see if they're going to stick around through thick and thin. Also, fifth house is personal joy, while the 11th house is social responsibility. So the tension you'll feel is, do I follow my heart or do I fulfill society's expectations? This is a major point of tension for those who are in the leadership roles. I would say go with that which can be trusted rather than what you can control in the short term. Don't look for control. Let go of that. Sun Saturn aspect always means you surrender to a greater power and do your karma diligently. On the shadow side, this could manifest as ego clashes in love or romance. You might feel unrecognized or unappreciated by a partner. If you are a parent, clashes with children can arise. This is where you need to bring more guidance instead of being only authoritative, because Saturn wants your children to wake up to the harsh reality of this life. And Saturn definitely is going to bring some amount of fear in the minds of your children. So this is not a good time for you to be dominant, because Saturn is already putting them through a lot of pressure, and your authoritative stance could become difficult for them to work with unless they're old enough to absorb that shock. Another shadow is alliances and friendship. The Sun in the fifth can make you seek yes men, people who say yes for everything. Sun wants people who admire you. But Saturn in the 11th reminds that not everyone who's clapping is your friend. Wrong company or wrong network could drag you into politics, into jealousy, or into criticism. Now let's flip this energy, because the gains are also profound. Sun as your fourth lord in the fifth can bring joyful stability through children, creative projects, or even in your romantic relationship if you play the cards right. And you might feel a deeper sense of security when you pour your heart into something artistic or intellectual. With Saturn gazing onto the Sun, Saturn wants you to mature in your talent. This is a time to refine your skills or even upskill, learn something new. This is the month where you learn that doing something creative is not just about people clapping or cheering, but also building something that lasts, building something lasting that the society can value. So, yes, the recognition might be delayed, but when it comes, it will have a lot of weight. In romance, wrong people may fall away, but the right relationship, one with responsibility and maturity, can take root now. Financially, this axis is strong, the fifth, 11th axis. So, fifth house is speculation and intelligence, the 11th is gains. Sun here makes you bold in decision making, but Saturn ensures you don't gamble recklessly. That means there could be some kind of a long term investment coming up because of Sun's intelligence shining the on the 11th house. where Saturn is currently transiting retrograde. So together they can help you create a disciplined path to wealth and financial freedom. So Taurus, who wins? Neither of them win outright. If you choose ego, you will feel blocked, unrecognized, maybe even isolated from your network. But if you choose discipline and also dharma, because sun is dharmakayaka, this month becomes a creative time for you to create something valuable, and your romance can mature, and your children or projects bring pride that's sustainable in the long term. And if you like what you heard, please give a thumbs up. If this prediction stirs something in you, leave a comment. And also subscribe if you're new to my channel. And next up, we have got Gemini Ascendants or Gemini Moon sign. By Gemini, your story this month is about home, about family, and inner security. All of that being put under the spotlight. Why? Because Sun, your third lord of initiative, third lord of siblings, communication, is now moving into the sign of Virgo in your fourth house of home, mother, emotional stability, property, and inner peace. The king in the fourth is like an administrator stepping into the palace treasury. He wants to organize, protect, and shine within the family sphere. This can be a time where your focus shifts strongly towards your home, focus shifts strongly towards real estate matters, towards vehicles, or even your relationship with your mother. You may feel the need to take control of domestic issues. You would want to make decisions about property or even renovate your setup and make it look grander and more aesthetically appealing. But then comes Saturn. Saturn is now retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your 10th house of authority, 10th house of public image, 10th house of career, and he's throwing his judicial glance straight on the sun. And Saturn is now asking, if you're going to spend all your energy at home, then who is going to take care of work? Who's going to handle your duties at work? So the theme for this transit is public versus private. Are you using your authority wisely in dispensing both your public and private life duties? Or are you just trying to escape from work and do only what is necessary and focus more at home? This becomes the core of your month, the push and pull between home life as well as career life. On the shadow side, conflicts can erupt between personal life and career obligations. Work demands could feel overwhelming just as family requires your attention. You may feel like you're constantly being judged by everybody. If you stay at home, people at work are going to ask you, why are you absent from duty? But then if you focus on career too much, then there could be ego clashes in family matters. There could be a lot of disputes within the family that require your attention. And if you're absent, then it could make you lose your peace of mind. So everyone wants the spotlight at home. So Saturn says, slow down. Everyone here has a say. Power struggles with parents, especially the mother, is now possible. Even internally, you may feel restless. You want stability, but career pressure is rising because of Saturn in the 10th. So it does not want you to settle down. Emotional peace feels challenged because of Saturn, as though every decision is scrutinized by both family as well as by the society. But the beautiful side of this transit is that Sun in the fourth can bring a surge of clarity in family life. There could be decisions about property, there could be decisions about land or vehicles, and that can actually get you moving very quickly towards prosperity. You may now find the courage to resolve old family disputes because Sun is your third lord. Or you could now invest in your home in a way that strengthens the security of your home. Like getting a surveillance camera or reinforcing your entrance with a strong door or a barrier. Saturn in the 10th ensures that while you do this, you're not neglecting your duties at work. In fact, this transit pushes you to balance both home and career life. like the true administrator that you are. Gemini, you're known for juggling things. You're very good at multitasking. You might work harder than usual, but the reward is stability in both spheres. You're going to have to do it. There's no other choice. And if you've been thinking about relocating, making changes in real estate, or balancing work from home, this is a very favorable month for that, provided you don't let your ego rule. And in relationship, especially with parents, Saturn's gaze helps you mature. Difficult conversations can lead to healing if handled with humility. You want to act boldly within the family sphere, but Saturn opposing from the 10th, it does not want to make decisions only for the sake of comfort. It wants you to take decisions based on what is dharmically right, and also keeping in mind your career responsibility. So, your karma this month is to find a balance, neither sacrificing career for family nor sacrificing family for career, but honoring both. So, Gemini, who wins here? The Sun or is it Saturn? Saturn wants you to uphold responsibility in the outside world, but Sun wants you to claim authority within your family life. So if you swing to one extreme, you will feel judged, you're going to feel blocked, you're going to feel restless. But then the suggestion from my side would be to integrate both of these. Like I said, Gemini, you're very good at multitasking. This is a transit that could be over before you know it, because Sun transits last only a month. So it's time for you to juggle things. No doubt the king must rule the palace, but also he must answer to the society, to the court. And if this prediction stirs something in you, leave a comment. Also, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. And if you want a consultation, do drop an email and I will see what I can do. Moving on, we've got Cancer ascendants or Cancer moon sign. Cancer this month, the stage of your life shifts towards ideas and connection. The Sun, your second lord of wealth and family and speech and values, is now moving into the third house of communication, siblings, effort, courage, and skills. So when the Lord of money and family enters the house of courage and communication, your words become your wealth. Your ability to speak, to write, to negotiate, or even to persuade other people is now going to open up opportunities for you, open up the doors to financial opportunities. Third house is the Bhavat Bhavam of the second house. So the natural strength of the second house is getting enhanced. Your ability to accumulate wealth through your own self efforts is now getting enhanced. This is the king stepping into the hall of messages, the administrator in charge of making sure every word carries power, And so naturally, your wealth comes through communication, it comes through your skills, it comes through short journeys. But just as the sun takes charge, Saturn retrograde from across the sky in the sign of Pisces, in your ninth house of Dharma, higher wisdom, gurus, and father, and also fortune, is now casting a gaze onto the sun. He is in fact questioning, are your efforts in sync with the higher truth? Are you speaking from wisdom or are you speaking out of ego? So this month, be very careful how you say things, what you say, because that can get construed in a very wrong manner even if there is an iota of ego involved in your speech. And Saturn says only dharmic effort will pay now. So if your speech is manipulative, the results are going to be short-lived. If your courage is aligned with honesty, wisdom, and service because Virgo is the natural sixth. So if it is aligned with service, then Saturn will reward you with prosperity that cannot be shaken. So remember, when Saturn gives, nobody can stop that from coming. So for you, Cancer, the story of this transit is your speech versus your wisdom, your courage versus your faith. Also, Saturn is now slowing down the wheels of fortune, but it is also stabilizing it. Now, Sun's aspect on the ninth, where Saturn is presently um, transiting. Now, also, Sun has a mutual aspect, right? So, when Sun aspects on the ninth house where Saturn is transiting, it can bring about a change from the stagnation that you're facing in the ninth house. So, you're going to see some movement, some change in the disruption you've been facing. Great time to see a change in education, in travel, and building a better future for yourself. On the shadow side, Sun in the third can make the voice too strong or maybe too authoritative. You may want to dominate in conversations with siblings, with colleagues or neighbors. Arguments with siblings could flare up because the Sun brings ego into their domain. Your words may actually feel very powerful, but Saturn's opposition says if you speak without maturity, you will be judged. And if you act without wisdom, you will be blocked by Saturn. Miscommunication, ego driven debates, and clashes between personal effort and higher principles are all possible, and that could drain your energy. In fact, be very careful about misplaced priorities at this time. So, the lesson for Cancer is that don't use your speech only for profit, because that's what we are seeing. Leo, ruled by Sun, going into Virgo, we're looking at a lot of profit being made, a lot of calculative thinking. But Saturn being in the ninth says you need to be able to uplift people and also guide and align with Dharma. You need to make sure that the wealth that you're building is not only for yourself, it is for everybody else. If that is not taken care of, then there could be some losses. Your speech could create losses instead of giving you gains. Now, for the brighter side, Sun as the second lord in the third is very powerful for turning skills into wealth. Your courage to learn new things, to try new things, or even share your knowledge could now bring financial growth. This is a month where writing, teaching, marketing, public speaking, or even negotiations are going to pay off. If you've been planning to create content or maybe share ideas or build a business using communication, solely communication, then this is your time to shine. Family members, especially siblings, may play a key role in financial matters. A sibling may guide you towards an opportunity, or you may help them financially or even health wise, because some sudden issue may have gotten them in a tough situation, which now gets your healing touch. But either way, what I see is family and effort are going to combine. Also, Sun is a Karaka for the father, an eighth lord in the ninth, and also aspecting the Sun is no good for the father. So watch out for any health complications coming in the way of your father. But otherwise, Saturn in ninth means the blessing is long term. If your actions are going to be aligned with the higher principles of Dharma, then your courage won't just bring temporary gains. It's going to help you build fortune for the future. Saturn wants to test your patience, but once you pass, the results are going to be very long lasting. Cancer, your biggest takeaway this month is your words are your currency, so use them to set things right, and you will not only gain wealth, but also the respect, the authority, the divine protection as well. Remember, the king may sit in the hall of speech, but the judge in the ninth, who is Saturn, he is the one who ensures that every word must be true to Dharma. If you honor that balance getting activated in your chart, then you can set the wheels of fortune in motion. There's a possibility of inherited wealth being passed on to you as well. If this prediction stirs something in you, leave a comment. Also, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hype this video and share this with your friends and family. And next up, we've got Leo Ascendant or Leo Moon sign. This is your month of reckoning. Why? Because the Sun, your Lagna Lord, the King, your identity, vitality, and very essence, is now stepping out of your sign and into the Virgo sign, your second house of wealth, speech, values, and family. So think of it this way. The king leaves his golden palace in Leo, where he enjoys power and walks into the treasury in Virgo. Here, he is no longer just shining for himself. He must account for resources. He must guard values and speak with authority. The king has to become an administrator of wealth. He's got to manage the wealth. He's got to manage family honor and even his own voice. But right across the sky sits Saturn retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your eighth house of transformation, hidden debt, fears, and karmic secrets. Saturn, the judge, casts his direct gaze upon your sun, and this is not a casual gaze. This is a confrontation. There could be ego clashes with your spouse, with your in laws. Saturn wants you to take responsibility. Sun, no doubt, is responsible, but he does not like to be questioned. So, obviously, this could indicate some kind of trouble in marriage or with your partner. On the shadow side, this can feel heavy. You may sense that no matter what you say, what you decide, or how you lead, others are always questioning your motive. Because Virgo is the sign of disputes. Your family may challenge your authority. And also, since Saturn is your sixth lord of work and daily routines going into your eighth house, aspecting the sun in your second, it means your colleagues at work may suspect your intentions or bring about challenges or difficult situation that questions your authority. Saturn in the eighth brings about hidden opposition, not always direct, but through whispers or through doubts and subtle resistance. Money matters could feel karmically loaded. And as your second house gets activated, there could be questions around inheritance, joint resources, maybe even taxes, or even debt. You may feel like wealth is under pressure, or that hidden financial responsibilities are now coming to light. The eighth house Saturn says, have you built your life on solid values or are you building it on your ego? If you've used speech and authority to dominate rather than uplift people, because Saturn it represents the masses, then Saturn is now going to pull the rug and expose the cracks in your life. Even health-wise, Leos may feel drained. The Sun opposed by Saturn can show fatigue. There could be throat issues or fear bubbling from the subconscious, which is the eighth house theme. But the good news is the Sun as the Lagna Lord entering the second can give powerful gains in wealth and status. This is the king entering the treasury, and if he's disciplined, he consolidates those resources. He builds long-term security and also becomes a benefactor for strengthening family bonds. So your words this month can command respect. This is a time when your speech has authority. You can influence other people, make strong negotiations, or even inspire people through what you say. So if you've been waiting to ask for a raise, settle family disputes, or even clarify financial agreements, this transit gives courage and clarity. And let's not forget, Sun in Virgo is in Mercury's sign. Mercury loves detail, loves analysis and precision. So for Leos, this means your charisma combines with sharp intellect. Your identity becomes more practical, more grounded, and more skillful, tactful. And when Saturn opposes from the 8th, it forces you to build wealth with integrity. So instead of quick gains, you learn to create sustainable prosperity. So instead of empty authority or hollow authority, you gain respect that lasts. Saturn's opposition is painful, yes, but it cleanses the ego and also strengthens your foundation. So who wins? Sun or Saturn? This month, I feel Saturn has an upper hand because Sun is now called into the witness box where Saturn is the judge and Saturn is asking tough questions. He's asking the Sun to prove his values, to prove your wealth is honest, prove your speech aligns with Dharma, and so on and so forth. But don't be disheartened because if you pass this test, you gain far more than temporary glory. You gain lasting honor, financial stability, And also a bit of a karmic release because Sun himself is now aspecting the 8th house. So there could be some change in your uh, sudden problems that arise because of Saturn there. Leos, your mantra this month is speak with integrity, build wealth with honesty, stand in your truth even when judged. Do this and you emerge stronger, wiser, and more respected than before. Because ultimately, Sun matures only when Saturn challenges that authority. And this month, that challenge is your greatest opportunity. And if this prediction stirs something in you, please leave a comment. Also, if you need a consultation, do drop an email. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. Also, hit that like button, share this video. And next up, we've got Virgo ascendants or Virgo moon sign. All right, Virgo, this is the month where you become visible, the month of confrontation and awakening. The sun, your 12th lord of hidden enemies, losses, foreign lands, and liberation, is stepping into your first house of yourself, your body, your personality, and your very identity. So, what does this mean? Imagine the king who has been hidden behind the curtain of the 12th uh, now needs to suddenly walk out onto the main stage into the spotlight of the first where everybody is noticing. The king is visible, but he carries with him all the baggage of the 12th. Hidden fears, karmic debts. There could be subconscious patterns that are now working against him. So he wants to shine, but the shadows are attached to him. And then comes the real drama. Saturn retrograde in Pisces sits directly in your 7th house of relationship, in your 7th house of other people, partnership, the public. So from here, Saturn casts his full judicial glare onto the sun in Virgo. So it's a face off, right? The administrator versus the judge, the ego versus accountability. So for Virgo, the story of this transit is how do you handle yourself when every move is mirrored? Every word is going to be judged, and your relationships are going to act like a test. So let's talk about the shadows first. Sun as the 12th lord in the first can feel very physically draining at times, and you may feel tired, your energy may be on the lower side, or your confidence could also be shaky. You might wonder, am I being true to myself or am I just performing for other people? The 7th house Saturn opposition makes this even sharper. Relationships, pals, business partners, or even the public, they're acting like reflectors. They're reflecting your identity. They question you, they reflect your flaws, and they don't let you get away with arrogance. Any ego based moves you make now can invite resistance, criticism, and confrontation. The sun wants to shine and assert, but Saturn says your identity is not only about you, it's also about how you relate to other people. So, clashes in marriage, partnerships, or contracts are now possible if you refuse compromise. Secondly, Sun's aspect on your 7th house, where Saturn is currently transiting, means there's going to be a push for your spouse or partner to move forward. You're going to see a change in their behavior for the good. They're going to be more proactive and less lazy or given to procrastination if that's how you've seen them. And now things are changing thanks to Sun. Sun could also unintentionally trigger some fear or a behavioral change in your partner. And they're going to behave in a very humble and respectful manner, almost servicing your every demand. It is almost unlike them, but Sun is a planet that makes us bow down for its splendor and magnanimity. So expect some change in your relationship with your spouse or partner. And health wise, this transit demands attention. The sun illuminates your body, but Saturn's opposition says, take care of your energy. Don't burn yourself out. Old issues like fatigue, sleep disturbances, or nervous strain may arise, and that is something that calls for attention. So now let's flip it. Sun in the first is powerful. For gains, it gives you charisma, it gives you presence and leadership qualities. People notice you, they look to you for guidance. For Virgo natives, this is your chance to step into becoming more visible to the outside world and assert yourself. Just drop the 12th house themes and be bold. Yes, Saturn is going to oppose, but that's the blessing. Instead of letting your ego run unchecked, Saturn forces you to refine your identity. He's asking, are you humble? And in all likelihood, you are, but it's also important to answer questions about fairness, about being just. Are you responsible in how you show up to other people? And if you accept this reflection, then the gains are going to be profound. Relationships can stabilize because you stop projecting ego and start practicing that balance. Your personality becomes stronger because it's tested against accountability. And Virgo is a sign of health and routines. So this is also a great period to bring order into health routine, self-discipline, and also personal goals. And remember, Sun in Virgo thrives in details and precision. So this month, your analytical nature shines, whether it's solving problems, organizing projects, or guiding other people, of course, with practical wisdom. And you can now command authority simply by being your meticulous Virgo self. But also, 12th Lord in Lagna shows a karmic release point. Past life debts and hidden enemies surface during this transit, but they surface through you. Your own actions, your own speech, your own presence will either dissolve those debts or create new ones. And Saturn in the 7th makes it clear. The karmic test comes through other people. It could be partnerships that you're into, maybe a spouse, maybe clients or public. They are your karmic examiners. It's like they have this moral code of responsibility to show you how you're doing things wrong. And they're going to be very quick in judging you and very quick in telling you that you're not doing it right. Whatever it may be concerning your behavior, it is now going to get highlighted by Saturn. So if you act with ego, your debt is going to increase. If you act with humility and service, your debt can dissolve. And definitely blessings are going to flow. So who wins this month, Sun or Saturn? For Virgo, Saturn has the gavel, but Sun has the spotlight. This is not a battle where one defeats the other. It's a dialogue. The Sun says, I'm here. This is me. I will shine. And Saturn replies, shine, but shine responsibly. Shine with humility. Shine with balance. So Virgo, this month, the mantra for you is to step into the light, but let accountability be your crown. If you're going to be transparent in your dealings, nobody's going to point fingers at you. In fact, you're going to get accolades. You're going to get the applause from people. So if you embrace this period of correction, if you're going to get corrected, that is, and if you embrace Saturn's correction, you not only shine brighter, but you also earn respect that lasts long after the spotlight fades and moves on to the next sign. Because ultimately, the king in the first is powerful, but only when he bows to the judge in the 7th. That is when he becomes wise. All right, if this prediction stirs something in you, leave a comment. If you need a consultation, to drop an email. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. Also, share this video with your friends and family. Next up, we've got Libra ascendants or Libra moon sign. So for Libra, this month, your story is about gains versus losses, ambition versus surrender, networking versus solitude. So you're probably wondering, how is that so? 6th house is not about gains, right? But no, it's not because of Saturn. I was just being deceptive. It's because of the Sun. Sun is your 11th lord of friendship, social circle, large networks, gains, and long-term desires. which is now moving into the sign of Virgo in the 12th house of isolation, expenses, foreign lands, and spiritual liberation. Picture this: the king of your kingdom of gains, normally seated in a grand hall surrounded by allies and supportive people, suddenly is now going to step into a monastery. So instead of all the cheering and clapping, there is silence. So instead of allies, there are shadows. Instead of gain, there is loss. But wait, across the sky, Saturn, retrograde in Pisces, sits in your 6th house of work, service, enemies, debt, and discipline. And Saturn is not just sitting there, he's staring straight at your sun in the 12th house. The judge looks at the king and asks, "Why are you chasing gains that drain your soul, my friend? Why are you seeking applause when the real battle is about service and discipline?" So, Libra, this month is about a test. Can you balance ambition with service? Can you align your desires with work, with your dharma? On the shadow side, this transit can feel confusing. The 11th Lord in the 12th can scatter your energy. Financial gains may leak through expenses. Your investments may not yield as expected, or your networks may not be as supportive as you imagine them to be. Friends may seem distant or unavailable. All of this is possible because of Sun being your 11th Lord going into the 12th. You may, however, feel a strong pull towards foreign lands or taking a vacation or going on a long distance journey or even go on a spiritual retreat. But with Saturn opposing from the 6th, there could be duty calls, there could be work pressure and health concerns. And all of that could now hold you back. You're dual minded. You don't know whether you need to stay back and work or you need to take that vacation. It's almost like you want to escape, but reality is keeping you grounded. But that's the whole point about being a Libra, isn't it? Libra is all about being balanced. You need to balance work, you need to balance vacation. You need to balance your spiritual side and your health routines. And since 11th Lord goes into your 12th house, there is a risk of chasing the wrong kind of friendship or alliances. The 11th and the 12th can bring secretive, hidden, or even deceptive networks, especially those working behind the scenes. Saturn in the 6th says you need to know who you're dealing with before you become friends. Choose your allies carefully, or you will turn them into hidden enemies. Even health could be impacted if you ignore discipline. If you're going to overspend energy, late nights, or indulgence, all of that can drain your vitality. Also, when Sun aspects Saturn in the 6th, Sun is going to make Saturn work really hard and become a lot more proactive at work, proactive solving problems. So, a part of you is going to remain very active throughout Sun's transit, but there's so much to gain out of this as well. You're going to learn a thing or two about management, especially managing your colleagues or subordinates or managing work in general. Financially, there could be an increase in your debt situation. That's possible. Um, Maybe your credit card debt is going up, but Sun in the 12th is throwing a light onto your financial health, and it's going to help you sort out some of those issues with tact, with intelligence, with um, analysis, with proper analysis, and then creative solutions. But also on the brighter side, the Sun as 11th Lord in the 12th is powerful for spiritual networking and foreign opportunities. If you're dealing with international projects, foreign clients, or spiritual groups, this is your time. The gains come not because you're loud and screaming bravado, no, but through subtle behind the scenes moves. The transit can also bring a lot of karmic clearing. Sometimes you need to lose certain friends or let go of certain desires in order to make space for greater gains ahead. If you've been clinging to the wrong group, the transit is gently going to push them out of your life. And with Saturn in the 6th opposing, the blessing is that you win over enemies, resolve that health issue, especially chronic health issue if you've been having something of that sort. And Saturn also helps bring discipline into your life, but only if you focus on service, being consistent, and being humble. Saturn wants you to build your gains not on shortcuts, but on consistent effort. Also, 11th and the 12th indicates past life gains now need to be balanced. The karma of your friendship, of your social bonds, comes due. If you've misused allies before, there could be debts that are now going to have to be cleared through you. If you've supported others selflessly, I mean, that is also possible in the past. If you've done that, then this is when invisible help will arrive out of nowhere from behind the curtain. You won't see them, but they're trying to help you, and they're going to come to you. Saturn in the sixth, directly opposing, says your karmic test is all about how you serve people, because Saturn represents the Gnosis and Virgo is the sign of service. The more you help other people, especially those who are in need, the more your hidden gains are going to manifest. In fact, Libra, you may find that helping solve someone's problems right now, if you choose to do it without taking any money, without having an ulterior motive or having to gain from it, then that can bring blessing into your own life. So for Libra, the mantra for this month is that less is more. The fewer desire you chase, the greater gains you invite. The more you serve, the more networks you build, and they're going to be very strong. They're going to understand your selfless nature, and they're going to be sticking to you through thick and thin. So yes, the king walks into a monastery, yes, like I said, but under Saturn's gaze, he learns that true wealth is not just about cheering or profit. It's more about peace. It's about discipline and seeing yourself taking a break or recover from problems, And that's also very, very important to rejuvenate yourself. And that's the treasure you walk away with this month. And don't forget to plan for that vacation, guys. And if this prediction stirs something in you, then please leave a comment. Also, if you need a consultation, do drop an email. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe below, like, share, and let people know. And until next time, stay tuned. Next up, we've got Scorpio ascendants or Scorpio moon sign. Scorpios, this month the spotlight falls on your career gains, your ambitions and networks. You're going to be working really hard at your job to make that money, make that incentive. So if your salary is not linked to your performance, you're still going to have to work really hard to get that salary, to get to that finish line, because Sun, your 10th lord of karma, authority, and repetition, has just entered Virgo, your 11th house of large groups, friendships, long-term desires, and material gains. This is one of the most powerful placements in astrology. This is a Raj Yoga in itself, especially when the 10th lord goes into the 11th house and it is Sun going into the 11th. It's like the king, after ruling the battlefield of duty, enters the hall of victory. So now he's surrounded by allies. He's surrounded by money, wealth, and applause. People are cheering. And Saturn represents the masses. It is the audience. And if you've done good work, they're going to applaud from the bottom of their heart. So professionally, this can be a very rewarding time for you. There could be promotion, there could be recognition or connections with influential people that can open the door for you. Those who are in the marketing field or those who are in fields linked to incentives, this is the time where you're going to work doubly hard to get that extra income, like I said. But the twist is that, and we've always got to have twists, right? The twist is that Saturn is retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your 5th house. And from across the sky, Saturn is throwing his stern gaze onto the sun, and sun is now answerable to the judge. Saturn is the arbiter of justice, and he's gonna ask you tough questions like, are your gains righteous? Are your ambitions aligned with wisdom and responsibility? Are you doing anything for posterity? Because fifth house is your children, your future generations. Are you going to leave something behind for your children, or are you going to do this just because you want to do it to satisfy your needs? So, this month is about career ambition versus karmic responsibility, gain versus duty towards children or your romantic partner. And if you're going to spend all your time with your friends or colleagues or at work, then there's going to be a lot to pay. And it's going to come from your children or it's going to come from your romantic partner. They're going to be asking you questions. You bet there's going to be confrontation with this kind of placement. On the shadow side, this can be intense. The sun in the 11th makes you ambitious, sometimes too ambitious. So you may push hard to achieve that recognition or make that profit or become more visible among your circle of friends. But Saturn in the 5th questions whether your methods are sustainable. Conflicts may arise with friends, with your elder siblings, or your network of friends, especially if your ego creeps in. But also, Sun in the 11th wants to expand his social circle, right? He wants to expand his reach. Sun in the 11th is also a giver of things, and he gives selflessly when he's in the 11th house because he's being cheered by people. He's getting that applause. So, this is a time where Sun works really hard to make good friends. But then Virgo is the sign of disputes, and when Sun is in the 11th house, you could also see people compete with you. The opposition from Saturn is telling you that the applause of the crowd is not enough. Your actions must also stand the test of wisdom and dharma. Some of those applause may not be real. They may be yes men or cheering for you because you are the king, because you are the boss, or because you're leading the pack. And Saturn can expose that shady behavior provided you don't let your ego come in the way and you, for once, listen to your children or your romantic partner. And romantically, there could be tension if your focus is entirely on career or social gains, neglecting personal bonds. That is no good for you now. For those with children, responsibilities or karmic lessons through your children can actually act as a check on your ambition as well. And remember, Sun opposed by Saturn can feel like ego versus discipline. So that means your desire may outpace your patience, and that could lead to a lot of frustration. Very important for you to be patient at this time, dear Scorpio. Sun also has a mutual aspect on the 5th house. So when Sun is aspecting the 5th house, you're going to see your children make progress in life. You're going to see some prosperity, especially because Saturn has been postponing them, delaying them. All of that is now clearing up because of Sun's gaze. So you're going to push forward for that prosperity and it's going to happen. The gains here are undeniable, right? So Sun as 10th Lord in the 11th is one of the classical yogas of professional success and fulfillment of desires. So 5th is past life merit. And if your past life merits have been good, then Saturn can actually make that reward gaining process a lot more easy, a lot more simple. And if you've been working hard, this is when recognition is definitely going to come knocking at your door because Saturn wants to give you that recognition. But yeah, it can slow it down. But if your past life merits have been bad, then make no mistakes about it. There's going to be a lot of tension. This is also a powerful time for intellectual leadership. Sun is a powerful karaka of the ninth house. So, teaching, mentoring, or guiding others through your career path can enhance your reputation. So, say yes to any kind of training related role that comes to you, especially at work. Sun shows mentor or father figure. So, go for it. Saturn will help you ensure there's substance in what you say to your students, or help you guide them to become better people. The 10th Lord in the 11th shows that past karmas of duty now bring results. This is the harvest phase of your professional efforts. But Saturn in the 5th opposing reveals that karmic truth of your career fruit is not only yours, but it is also something that belongs to your children, your students, and those who look to you for guidance. And that is why I'm telling you, if you get the opportunity to teach people, take that opportunity and help them gain as much knowledge as possible, whatever you can give. So if you act selfishly, Saturn is going to restrict those gains. If you share your wisdom, guide other people, or use your success to uplift those people, then Saturn blesses you with lasting prosperity. And this is your chance to prove your mettle, dear Scorpios, especially when Sun goes into your 11th house. Use this opportunity. So even after the transit is over, you're going to feel the effect of Saturn in the 5th, giving you a good, prosperous life. So who's going to win? Is it the Sun or is it Saturn? This month, I feel that both Saturn as well as Sun play a vital role. The Sun, as your 10th Lord in the 11th, gives ambition, power, and he's going to give you rewards. But Saturn in the 5th ensures those rewards are tested against wisdom and responsibility. So if you chase ambition blindly, Saturn will humble you. If you balance career success with your intelligence, with being humble, and with dharmic choices, you gain not just money or recognition, you gain respect, you gain authority, and also karmic merit that gets added up. Don't feel bad that Saturn is aspecting Sun just when the 10th Lord is in the 11th house, because you're thinking it's creating more problems than usual. But then the king may win the applause in the hall of victory, guys, but Saturn is the one who is the judge. And the judge is the one who ensures that the victory is noble. So this is a very defining transit for many Scorpios. Use this opportunity to gain recognition, even from your critics. That's when your reputation becomes an unshakable reputation. And if this prediction stirs something in you, leave a comment. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. Also, hit that like button, share this with your friends and family. Next up, we've got Sagittarius ascendants or Sagittarius moon sign. So for Sagittarius, the Sun, your ninth lord of Dharma, fortune, father, and higher wisdom, steps into Virgo, your 10th house of karma, profession, and authority. So this is a very karmic placement, if you will, because the planet of divine order, ninth lord, is now sitting in the house of duty, the 10th house. It's like the sage is entering the king's court. This is classical quality of belief shaping your profession. Luck coming into your profession. And more about that later, but before that, let's look at Saturn. Saturn is now in the sign of Pisces, retrograding, and he is in your 4th house of home, inner security, and peace of mind. And he's throwing his gaze onto the sun. The judge in your heart looks at the king in your profession, and he's asking, is your work truly aligned with Dharma, or are you abandoning inner stability for outer success? This sets the stage for you, Sagittarius, a tug of war between professional ambition as well as personal peace, between public duty as well as private grounding. And ninth lord in the 10th means that there's opportunity that's going to come to you with regards to travel. You could now travel because of work. But Saturn says, well, what about the duty at home? Who's going to take care of home? So this transit can feel like a conflict between work and home. And being Sagittarius, you would love to travel. And Sun in the 10th makes you ambitious. It wants that recognition. It wants authority, promotions, leadership. All of that is giving you a very strong call this month. But Saturn in the 4th is pulling you back. It is pulling you back into your home, into your emotional foundation, asking whether your inner life is being neglected. For some, this can manifest as pressure from both career as well as family, taking care of domestic business, domestic issues. I mean, there could be work demanding more time, while home or emotional well-being is going to suffer quietly. That could happen if you only tend to your work. Quite a tussle there, don't you think? So, relationship with parents, especially mother or father, could get strained now. The opposition could even bring situations where your duty at work clashes with responsibility at home. So, ego conflicts with authority figures. You may feel you deserve recognition, but Saturn ensures it does not come without patience, without humility, and also discipline. So, the shadow is kind of clear. The temptation to sacrifice peace of mind for worldly gain. Saturn says, if you do that, success will feel hollow. Would you be happy earning a few $1,000 and seeing your parents suffer? But then Sun's mutual aspects back at the 4th house is going to release some amount of pressure that you may feel at home and brings about a sense of vitality and healing. Sometimes it's important for you to leave home and go for work to someplace else in order to have some fun for yourself. And that's when people at home will also start healing on their own, especially with regards to your mother. But then your mother can be the one who's got this resolve of taking care of domestic stability. And that more than anything is going to help you uh, move to places without having that tension in mind. So if that opportunity crops up for you to move, go ahead and do it. Now let's look at the brighter side, and there is a lot to celebrate here. Sun as the ninth lord in the 10th is a textbook Raj Yoga. It brings together dharma and karma. It's bringing both of these themes together. Professionally, this can be a very powerful month, especially those who are working in service related jobs, those who are tied to the armed forces. You're going to get recognized by people. There could be opportunities for leadership. You may be asked to take on roles where your wisdom guides other people, not just your work. So, teaching, mentoring, guiding people, all are part of this month's theme with Sun transiting the sign of Virgo. And the other way of looking at it is that this is a time when blessings of mentors, blessings of your teachers, your gurus, even your father figure is helping your career. Fortune and divine grace flow into your professional life. And some of you may even find your work aligning with spiritual beliefs. Teaching, advising, guiding, and having a leadership quality with a higher purpose, leading the packs, so to speak. And financially, gains are likely through the effort that you put in. Ninth Lord in the 10th makes it easier for you to gain maximum recognition with very little effort because ninth is the house of luck. More importantly, this transit can give you meaningful success. It's not just about the money or status, but it's about the work that you do, which is in sync with your higher calling, being a Sagittarius, and what it means to be a Sagittarius ascendant. And Saturn's aspect from the 4th, while it can be restrictive, it's going to ensure balance. He reminds you to ground your ambition. A lot of tussle is seen with Saturn and Sun, but importantly, Saturn also is a karaka for work and profession. But then he finds duty at home more important at this time. That means If you achieve success, ignoring family or domestic affairs, it could have that long term regret in your mind. So, the suggestion that I can give you is, of course, if you're going to have to leave home, go far away, then there's very little you can do. But if you're going to stay back at your place and then work, then all I can say is do measured work. Measured work at your office. Do only that which is required at work. Of course, that does not mean you should ignore precision, because Virgo is all about precision. But just ensure that you're not doing more than what is required. And when you go back home, tend to your families, spend quality time. You know the saying, work really hard, party really hard. That is what applies to you here now. Don't bring work home, tend to your family. And who wins, Saturn or Sun? For Sagittarius, the Sun has got immense strength because of being the ninth lord in the 10th house. Dharma in karma is a Raj Yoga that cannot be dismissed. But Saturn's opposition from the fourth is also going to be equally critical, or it's a very difficult placement for you to criticize. He reminds you that inner peace is not optional. It is the foundation upon which your dharma stands. Family is everything. So if you chase only career, ignoring your emotional well-being, Saturn will make you struggle doubly hard. But if you integrate both, bringing wisdom into your career while uh, honoring home at heart, respecting it, then you're going to win on all fronts. Very testing phase for Sagittarius, very emotional phase as well. Hang in there, and if this prediction stirs something in you, then leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe for more transit predictions and all things astrology. And I will see you guys again with another new video very soon. Stay tuned with VGS. And now let's move on to Capricorn ascendants or Capricorn moon sign. For Capricorns this month, it feels like walking into a courtroom trial, because Sun, your eighth lord of crises, hidden transformation, that is entering your ninth house of Dharma, fortune, and higher wisdom in the sign of Virgo. Now pause here. Eighth lord entering the ninth house means there's going to be a transformation in the way you see things. Maybe you're going to get a new pair of glasses, right? I mean, no, it's not just figuratively, but also literally. Maybe it's time for you to really check your eyesight, because Sun is not just shining upon you, it is burning things up for you. He is your eighth lord, and whenever eighth lord looks directly at the Lagnesh, because Saturn is your Lagnesh, I would go, whenever I see this kind of a combination, eighth lord looking at the Lagnesh, I'd go, oh my God, this is not good. It does not augur well for the ascendant lord. But remember, Saturn and Sun have the relationship of a son and father. So no matter how violent this case is, it's not going to kill you. Remember the saying, what does not kill you makes you stronger. So yes, the challenges ahead are very real and very karmic, but it's not only going to make you tough as nails, but it's also going to make you stronger and bolder. Sun is going to try and bring some really sudden changes in your life. Saturn hates changes. So that's where the tussle is going to be this month. But then again, Saturn being your Lagna Lord in the third house, whenever Saturn goes into the third house, he's got a firm footing on the ground. It means that is why when we see Saturn in the third, we usually say that your travels are going to be blocked or restricted or limited. And that's why Saturn is going to hold the ground. Sun is turning the heat this month. You're going to feel like you're running out of luck, or you're not just lucky enough when compared to so many other people. There could be troubled relationship with father. There's going to be sudden travel on the cards. You want to stay at home, but things are going to push you out. And for students, you could now lose your consistency and focus and in your education and move to other more pressing things, the big questions of life, like who am I? Why am I here? What is my karma? So on and so forth. But don't forget, this is a distraction and you need to get back in the game as soon as possible. Career wise, you may be facing too many challenges at work. There could be unreal targets to meet. You want to speak up to injustice, but words don't come out. There could be suffering in silence because the boss has the final decision. He's the final decision maker. But thankfully, the sun transit lasts just about a month. That's a relief, right? But the real deal is that new stars are born in the cosmos where there's plenty of friction, where there's plenty of chaos, where there's activity. So, this is your wake up call, your time to rise like a phoenix from the ashes and fight back with all your might. The transformation will undeniably be favorable if you take things in your stride. Then opportunities definitely are going to open up for something beautiful. You might even end up with a new role or a new job, especially something very creative that you've always wanted to do. The transit will give you interest in fine arts, including theater or drama. If you're playing a skit in the school, then know that it's because of the Sun Saturn transit. And on the darker side, this can feel heavy because father or mentors may go through struggles. There could be misunderstanding with teachers or spiritual guides. You may feel like the wisdom you trusted suddenly does not hold up. Work pressure builds because Sun, as the eighth lord, throws this aspect onto Saturn, your Lagnesh, who is also the very Karaka of karma, of profession. So there could be ego clashes with your boss, sudden disruptions in your professional environment, or extra responsibilities. And it's all going to test your patience. Saturn is about testing patience. Whenever Saturn is moving from one sign to another, whatever house that sign is ruling, that is where you're going to see a lot of your patience getting tested. There could be communication struggles, especially with siblings or colleagues. Third house Saturn wants you to be disciplined in speech, but Sun's fiery energy could now make your words sharp. It could be ego driven or confrontational. So watch out how you speak. And yes, health and vitality need care. The eighth lord looking at your Lagnesh can actually sap energy or create stress related issues if you don't pace yourself. So the real shadow, the temptation to react suddenly, to force changes, to argue with mentors, to clash with bosses, to push your way through dharma instead of letting Saturn's discipline guide you. All of this is possible. But the blessing is also there because the eighth is not only the house of obstacles, it is also the house of deep research. It is the house of your hidden strength. It is the house of your transformative self. And when the eighth lord enters the ninth, you're given the chance to transform your dharma, to question what you've been taught. And I've seen a lot of people move from one philosophy or one ideology to another when they've got eighth lord in the ninth. And they actually become masters of that. But then, Sun is a very short transit. Don't expect big changes coming your way. There's going to be change, no doubt, but it's not going to be really sweeping changes. All I can say is maybe you're going to scratch the surface of a new philosophy. Maybe you could get a guru. Some of you may deep dive into astrology or knowledge of the stars or mantras, that sort of thing. And Saturn's role here is actually protective. The sun is here to bring upheaval in your life, but Saturn says, and listen to Saturn when he's saying this, don't rush. Saturn says, don't rush, go slow. Even if the transformation is coming, you're going to have to take it in your stride. Don't do things in haste. If you're studying, if you're writing, teaching, or exploring spiritual practice, Saturn ensures that what you learn is not just an emotional high, it becomes a disciplined path. However, Sun's aspect on Saturn can give you some really strange habits, habits that may not be very good. So that's something that you need to watch out for. And even at work, because Saturn is a karaka for work, there could be ego clashes with your boss. Sun forces you to face disruptions. Saturn ensures you rebuild stronger. Think of it like an earthquake that shakes a building, but the foundation gets reinforced afterward. So that's what Saturn is trying to do. The Sun, as the eighth lord, wants to shake your dharma. He wants to challenge your mentors and test your work-life balance with sudden storms. But Saturn, your Lagnesh, will not allow that to happen. Even if there's so much chaos, Saturn is a great planet to bring about structure. He's going to break it down for you. He stands firm in the third, reminding you courage is not just about being loud or increasing your volume. It is about being steady. And your effort need not be flashy in order for everybody to know. It only needs to be consistent. And Capricorn, this month, your task is not to avoid upheaval. Don't do that. Let that come to you. Let the problems come. Integrate that problem into your life. Let the storm clear away blind faith. Let Saturn discipline your new beliefs through your own effort, through your own analysis. You're going to test that truth through your experience. And that's what matters. And then the malefic Sun becomes your alchemist, transforming hidden karmas into living wisdom. And that's all I've got for Capricorn. If the prediction stirs something in you, leave a comment. Also, like, share, and subscribe. Let's move on to the next sign. We've got Aquarius Ascendants or Aquarius Moon sign. For Aquarius, this month is like opening a sealed chamber in your life, a place where relationship, commitments, and also your karmic debts are stored. The Sun, your seventh lord of partnership, of agreements, is stepping into Virgo, your eighth house of secrecy, upheaval, and also transformation. Now pause and think about that symbolism. The lord of your spouse, your business ties, your closest one-to-one bonds is walking into the house of secret things. This is not the usual dinner table relationship energy. This is people trying to know about you and your secrets. The transit makes people curious about you. They're going to be intrigued about what you're hiding. Especially got to be careful with tax filing, guys. Aquarius people, it's time to double check on your tax filing. You better file a correction this month if there's anything left out, or there could be problems coming up. If you deliberately hide anything from the government, there are chances of your secrets getting exposed. Also for Aquarius, you might now find a strange curiosity about all things associated with the mysteries of the universe. You could be interested in secret knowledge or information, even gossip. You could also now sign up for something that keeps you in good health. Virgo is the sign of health and wellness. So maybe you're going to hit the gym or experiment with longevity products or even diet because of Saturn in the second. And Sun in the eighth, aspecting your Lagnesh means you got to be very careful with authority figures. Listen to your intuition and then act wisely. Your sixth sense could give you a clue about what's about to unfold. You could get tempted to do something beyond what's allowed in the rules, in the law of the land, wherever you're residing. But if you ignore your sixth sense, which could tell you that you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't go forward, then there could be consequences of clashing with your boss, consequences of even getting a letter of warning. Doesn't go well in the records, right? So be very careful. And don't forget, Saturn, your Lagnesh, is retrograde in Pisces in the second house of values, family, and speech, and Sun in the eighth throws its seventh aspect straight onto Saturn. So this is heavy. The seventh lord looking at the Lagnesh means partnerships are directly shaping your behavior. Partners, bosses, or even society may now demand proof of your integrity. For instance, seventh lord in eighth, seventh is spouse, and your spouse may now ask, are you being prudent with money, or are you being too stingy with the money that you've got, that you don't even want to spend it on your family, for the welfare of your family? A business or a romantic partner could now say, can I really trust you? And Saturn in the second, guys, it creates circumstances where you would have to lie, especially retrograde Saturn. You can't help but lie, but now they're coming under the scrutiny of other people, including your spouse or your partner or your boss. Family issues connected to inheritance or shared resources could now get dragged into married life. Your spouse may demand a greater cut in the inheritance among your siblings. It's the usual thing that happens in every other family. All of this is possible, but the most important piece in the drama that unfolds could also include any secret relationship that you have. Saturn aspecting the eighth wants the secret to remain. Sun wants it exposed. Now, if Sun and Saturn collide, you could feel drained, misunderstood, or financially pressured. And there could be doubts in your relationship. In work as well, this means bosses, partners, or your clients, they can all test your boundaries. But what you need to remember, especially with retrograde Saturn, there's that sixth sense getting activated, and Saturn says, don't compromise your values for short term gains. Stay rooted in integrity. Don't let that bad reputation come to you. So, of course, the shadow here is powerful and unavoidable. The transit often shakes partnerships or marriages. It does not necessarily indicate breakups, but there could be sudden hidden issues that surface. Secrets, financial matters, intimacy struggles, all are possible during this transit. There's definitely going to be some tussle between second and eighth house related matters. So, of course, the ego resists being weak, but this very resistance is going to create friction. Sudden changes in agreements, business deals, contracts, or partnerships may undergo unexpected changes. And if your partner or your business partner, if they're going through some personal upheaval, that could have a direct impact on you because Sun is aspecting your Lagnesh. But it also means a new partnership may come into life out of nowhere. And since seventh also reflects your vitality, being opposite the Lagna, the Sun's move into the eighth may feel like you're getting drained, your stamina is getting tested, and you're losing your confidence. Or you could have darker temptation to control, to dominate, to force truth out of other people, all of that could happen. But when in reality, the eighth house demands a lot of patience, guys. Patience, surrender, and deep listening, that is the theme of the eighth house. But the very same transit can be very transformative if you don't fight its lesson. That is what I always tell people when they have a lot of planets in the eighth house. So what looks like a crack in a marriage or a business relationship or a bond can actually be the beginning of deeper intimacy. If you let your guard down and set aside that ego, things could actually work out better. And sometimes this transit can also open the doors of knowledge through a partner, through gurus or guides or someone outside you don't even know of. It can mark the beginning of a shared journey into astrology or tantra or even psychological healing. But usually when I see psychological healing, I look at the 12th house because 12th house is the house of subconscious mind. But 8th house, especially in the sign of Virgo, can also indicate psychological healing. And the 8th house is shared wealth. In practical terms, this can bring benefits through inheritance, spouses, finances, or joint ventures. Though Saturn's slow hand ensures such gains come only with responsibility. So Aquarius this month is not about smooth sailing in a relationship. It's about alchemy. The Sun as seventh lord is pulling your partnership into the underworld. you know, he's showing you what's buried. So Saturn, your own guardian, your Lagnesh, demands that you respond with patience and values taught by your parents. The question is not, will this bond survive? The real question is, will this bond transform? That's where the focus should be. And if this prediction stirs something in you, please leave a comment. If you need a consultation, do drop an email. And if you like what you heard, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe below and share this video with your friends and family. Next up, we've got Pisces Ascendant and Pisces Moon sign. Peace, the final face-off. Pisces, this transit feels like the stage lights are on you. The Sun, Lord of your sixth house of service, debts, disputes, and enemies, is stepping into your seventh house. Seventh house of marriage, business partnerships, contracts, and one-on-one dealings. It's as if the administrator has left his office and walked into the courtroom of negotiations. Now picture this. The Sun in the seventh sits across from Saturn, who is seated firmly in your Lagna, your very identity, and that is now getting tested. The seventh house represents the other, while the Lagna is the self. With Sun there, it's like every partner, every competitor, every significant other is standing opposite to you with a bright torch and saying, show me what you're really worth. Prove your worth. Tell me who you really are. And Saturn sitting in your ascendant is not letting you run. He is both the taskmaster and the silent watcher. He says, I will judge whether you handle this opposition with maturity or with ego. So this is not an easy placement. The Sun as sixth lord in the seventh can manifest as conflicts with your spouse or business partner. And what starts as small disagreements over responsibilities can suddenly flare into ego clashes. Your partner may accuse you of being too domineering, or you might feel they're not pulling their weight. That could also happen. In business dealings, you may find competitors or clients being unusually demanding. They could be questioning your integrity, your service, your commitment to work, because the sixth lord has entered the sign of Virgo in the seventh house. Service-based karmas now intrude into the domain of harmony. So instead of a smooth collaboration, you face transactional, almost combative dynamics. So health may also take a hit if you internalize these problems, these conflicts. There could be digestion issues, stress-related complaints, fatigue from trying to balance the me versus the you. All of that is possible. But the deeper shadow is that Saturn in Lagna means your entire self-image is now coming under pressure. If you bend too much, you feel you're losing yourself. If you assert too much, you risk alienating other people. And that tug of war can leave you feeling drained and even second-guessing your own authority. That's really what's happening, especially whether you are a Pisces ascendant or a Pisces moon sign. And even if you're going through Sun Mahadasha, trust me, Sun, although malefic, he's not going to cause harm to your ascendant. He's friendly to your ascendant lord. But what I can see is that a lot of work-related challenges are now coming your way, and you would have to step up if you want to survive. Trust me, Saturn is now going to have to start flailing his arms and legs to reach the shore. Especially so. What a nice, fitting example of being in the sign of Pisces. The waves are opposing Saturn now, and he's gonna have to do something, or because he can't stay afloat in the sign of Pisces, in the sign of the ocean. So what this means to you is that there's going to be a lot of activity when Sun enters the sign of Virgo. But also, let's flip this. The Sun in the seventh is also shining a bright light on your relationship. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it exposes what is rotten and forces honesty. This is the time when you can resolve long standing disputes with your partner because things are now out in the open. As sixth lord, the sun gives you courage to confront the imbalances, the cracks in your relationship, the cracks in your partnership. So, if debts or unhealthy dependencies exist in your marriage or in your business, this is the month to clear them. And if enemies have been undermining you, or if they've been trying to twist your arms to get you to do what you don't want to do, then this could be the month where you can actually expose them. And with Saturn in Lagna, you actually hold the higher ground. Remember that. Only if you, of course, only if you stay disciplined and patient and also humble. So this combination gives you the power to turn enemies into allies. Your competitors can now come to an agreement with you. And that agreement can actually be something that works for the both of you. Financially, too, this can be stabilizing. The sun in the seventh brings visibility in business dealings, and Saturn ensures that you won't chase short term gains. If you work steadily, then contracts signed now could yield long term stability. So, who wins, Sun or Saturn? For Pisces, Saturn has the upper hand because he is seated in your very Lagna. But this does not mean the sun loses. Instead, Saturn forces the sun to burn uh, in a more clean way, to shed ego and shine as a servant leader in your partnership, which means you will be the one serving, of course. So if you cling to pride, then expect conflicts to escalate. But if you stay humble and see every partnership as a field of service, the transit becomes less challenging. You'll not only strengthen your relationship, but also it's a chance for you to evolve personally because of Saturn and stepping into a deeper, more wise, more disciplined version of yourself. Saturn loves depth, and in the sign of Pisces, he's gonna get plenty of that, especially when the sun starts aspecting Saturn. You know, he's gonna deep dive into the ocean. That is what I'm thinking. He may not even want to reach the shore. He may want to reach the depths of the ocean. You know, and that means this could be beneficial for you in terms of being more aware of yourself, searching for meaning, searching for one's true self or true identity, and trying to uncover more of that mystery. Okay. And that's all I've got for Pisces. And that wraps up my transit prediction. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you need a consultation, do drop an email. And also, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. And I will see you guys again with another new video very soon.